I just took apart my passenger side parking brake, and I'm making this video to remind me how to put this back together, but hopefully viewers will get a better idea of how the inner workings work. So first we have this little arm. This is the arm that's connected to the caliper, which the cable will run around. So first I'm going to put the bolt through this shaft. The top hat part, the big part of the shaft, with facing outward towards the bolt. This shaft will go through the spinning cable wheel. The cable will wrap around this wheel and it'll spin. The cable wheel will sit flush against the arm, and the arm is going to be in this direction. This is from the perspective of the, you turn the arm over, there's a little logo that'll be facing downward. And so the pocket side of the arm will face up. Caliper itself, move you out of the way. Okay, everything below the shish kebab stick will be inner workings of the caliper. Everything above the shish kebab stick will be outer workings. So first, actually we have two bolts that'll go into the caliper, one bolt hole here and then one bolt hole here. I think they're mostly for show, but they might keep the pads sort of tight and stop them from wiggling. Then we have a piston shoe. It'll sit in this direction. This smaller part, the smaller part of the shoe, smaller circumference, will sit flush again. That'll go into the lip of the caliper, and then on this side, this will sit against this lip of the piston. That lip right there, that kind of groove. Actually, it's called a groove. Then we have the piston. We're going to put the driven disc in first. The driven disc kind of looks like a hat. The top part of the hat will go in first. So that's the driven disc that's threaded. Okay, that'll go in first. Then we put the bearings on top of the driven disc. And then on top of the bearings, we put the flat washer. Flat washer will sit on top of the bearings. And then on top of the flat washer will be a spring washer. It's a little squiggly. So on top of that. And then there is a lip or groove right above that spring washer that the locking mechanism will sit inside. So you'll put that in there and you'll lock it in place, and that'll hold the whole piston assembly in place. Then inside the caliper, inside the piston housing of the caliper, we're first going to put in this larger flat washer, and then on top of that flat washer will be this spinning washer, and then on top of that we're going to put this bearing component. It's going to have a little groove. This will sit outside the caliper. It'll be coming out of this little part right here. Be sticking out. I'll get to that more in a minute. And this is actually three components. It's the metal kind of teeth part, this little plastic clear part, and then three metal bearings. So that'll sit right on top. Again, this is the order of how I'm going to put them inside that hole, the piston housing hole. And then on top of the bearing component will be the worm shaft, which has three little holes for the three little bearings that will sit on top. And then on top of the worm shaft will be this returning spring. The returning spring, the smaller part of the spring, so facing this direction towards my finger, will go on first, and that'll actually sort of lock into, again, there's another locking lip or groove that the spring will lock into on the worm shaft. And then to keep the spring down, to hold pressure, will be this O-shaped bracket. And I need to take another look at this. I think, yes, okay, so this O-shaped bracket has these little things like 1, 2, 3, these little grooves sticking out. It's not a flat washer, these little grooves if you hold it from this direction. Those will be facing outward. So it'll actually be facing this way. If I were to, this will be the last piece I put in, it'll be facing towards the out of the car. And that's just so when you take it back apart, you can put a screwdriver through there and you can kind of hook it onto one of those little, you can get your little flathead and hook it against each of those to pull it and pry it out. All right, so that's the inner workings of the caliper. Now, the shoe, so what's the part? This part, once we've put it in there, it'll be sticking out, the little teeth. And that's so to keep dirt from getting inside the cylinder, we have the shoe. That'll go on first, right on top of here. It'll go on first. And then second, we'll put on this little arm with the little hook. And that'll face this direction, right on like that. And it'll fit nice and neatly into those grooves. And then we put the flat washer on top, and then we lock it in place with the bolt. And then this spring will sit around it. The hook facing the out of the car will be down. The hook facing towards the center, inside of the car will be on the top side. So the bottom side just means, okay, it's touching the paper. That top part was facing upward. Okay. Then there is this little piece. I'm still not sure in terms of what, this will be trial and error, but that's gonna sit right in here. I think this might assist in keeping the returning spring in place. So I think I'll put all the inner workings together and then put this back in. I might have to do a little trial and error, but it might, you know, actually I think what this is once you've put all this together, then this is the hole you put the grease inside. That actually might be it. I think this is with the grease hole you filled up with grease. Okay.